listening to KCFB Ferguson, 89.5 The Wave, and this is Fear the Dead Air, with your host, JazzHandss.
When civilization ends, it ends fast.
That is right, you are listening to the one, the only Fear the Dead Air here on 89.5 The Wave, and I am your host, your friendly neighborhood DJ, JazzHandss, here to talk about last Sunday's epic. Honestly, I'm going to be real honest, I've been saying that, Fear's been getting better and better and better and better and better. This is hands down my favorite episode of Fear the Walking Dead. It had so much in it. Okay, so real quick too, because sometimes I like to jump ahead of myself. Spoiler warnings are abound. If you haven't seen last Sunday's episode of Fear the Walking Dead, I highly recommend it. It was, oh my god, so much happened, so much drama. I don't even think we saw a walker, or I guess a wasted, in the entire episode, besides maybe walking around in the background. But this was this was such a good episode. With Walking Dead, there are a lot of moments where myself, my brother included, a lot of the times, if something happens, we'll scream at the TV. We'll be like, yeah! Or no! What are you doing? This was one of those moments. This was one of those moments where I actually screamed at the TV. And that has not happened in the entire season of Fear. So, it did a fantastic job. A whole 9 yards of emotions, of visually stunning, of character building. It was fantastic. Again, not a lot of action in this episode, but I feel the character development and the overall story arc of both Travis and Chris, it's worth it. And even a little bit of Madison, at the end. Okay, so I liked the hotel. I like that we got to see the hotel, and it kind of brought up one of those complaints that I had previously, is that, well, it's still so soon into the apocalypse. You'd think that there would be small groups of people still living around, or still walking around, or not really sure what to do. I mean, granted, this could be a month or two in, but it's still, like I said, a month or two in. These people would... there would still be a lot of people. The cities wouldn't be as scarce. You'd be running into, more people, probably more walkers, or wasted than they would be dispersed or scattered out. Granted, it's more of the countrysides that we're seeing, and not a major city. But still, I digress. So, but I'm glad that we got to see some more survivors coming through after what Madison did, which, good job, Madison. Granted, it's the catalyst to bring her and Travis back together, and I gotta say, it was nice to see those two together again. I never knew how much I actually missed those two characters interacting till now. Speaking of Travis, wow. Wow. Travis's character development in this episode is by far, I believe, the most character development we've gotten in a character in a while. You see these rains of emotions going through him in the entire episode: confusion, anger, regret. So many different layers of emotion to this character in this particular episode. And I love it. I loved every moment of it. Okay, because here's the whole thing with Travis. Travis in this world is still very much, and everybody said this, he's very much holding on to his old ways. He believes that the world will possibly fix itself, that one day a group of people, military, are going to come up and go, hey, look, the world's fixed. We can go and do this. So he's still living by those old rules, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, but I do believe, it's clear that he's living by those old rules, but I really feel that at the end of this episode, things have changed for him. I think his eyes were open at the end of this episode after what happened with Chris. I think now he's questioning himself more, what's right, what's wrong. And I fully believe in some aspects he has given up on his son Chris. in a lot of aspects, he's given up on his son Chris. And I'm going to talk about Chris. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, Travis in this episode was phenomenal. You know, I like that he was trying to protect Baby James, Little James, something like that. I like that he was trying to protect that character, even though he hated those kids. He hated those kids because I'm sure in some aspects he feels that these are the kids that are kind of egging Chris on to go down this darker path because of this. So there is this part of him that definitely resents him, but I like that he stuck up and tried to protect little James, baby James, the guy that got shot in the leg, pretty much. I like that he tried to protect him, and it just shows how good of a character he is, that even though he hates somebody, if they're hurt, if they're injured, he will, help them. He will go out of his way to try to protect them. He's sticking to his moral code, which is what I like. But of course, in this world, when you have a moral code, that's never a good sign. It's never a good sign with the moral code. He's using this honor, and I loved, oh my god, I loved the part where, he takes Chris's gun, and then shoots at, Brandon. That was the leader of the Bromigos. Oh! That was the part I flipped out at, because it's like, yes, that action right there of him saying, I'm going to defend this person, even though I don't like him, I'm going to defend him, because he's clearly scared of you. You've corrupted my son, I feel, in certain ways. Granted, we're going to get into that a little bit later when I kind of cover Chris. But you corrupted my son. You've scared the hell out of this one kid. I'm not doing it anymore. And so I feel the moment he, shot at Brandon was the moment he was like, I'm giving you one warning. And if you don't back down, then stuff's gonna hit the fan, and you're not gonna like it. So I loved Travis a lot in that moment. I cheered. I was like, yes, finally, Travis, do it. Because everybody says he doesn't have a backbone. I think he does. I think Travis is probably, he is downright my most favorite character, next to Strand. And to see him in this episode fully come around and try to stick to this moral compass, as well as he's trying to bring Chris back, trying to guilt him or whatnot, or at least I think maybe even test him somewhat in this episode to see, okay, well, does he show remorse? Is he sorry? And it's clear that he wasn't. And I'm going to get into Chris a little bit later, because I feel that there's some stuff that Chris did towards Travis that might be manipulation, and I'm gonna talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, I also like that we kind of got to see a little bit more of Travis's darker side, where, and Chris Hardwick said this the best, where Travis is such a peacemaker and wants everything to be chill and calm, and I wouldn't say he wants the world to be perfect, but if he can help it, he would much rather back down from a fight and maybe even agree with somebody that he doesn't really agree with to bring peace, to an extent. I think if you push Travis hard enough, you're going to see what you saw what happened with Brandon, and I think you're going to see what happened with Brandon next episode. So that's what I think. But yeah, he's such a nice guy. But I liked the moment where him and Chris were having this huge conversation, and Chris was like, "You told me to blend in instead of dealing with the problem or helping me overcome this problem. You just told me to blend in and try to make friends with them and blah 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 blah." And granted, that's not like a super dark side to Travis, and I don't think he meant for something like that to happen. I think it was just, look, yeah, kids are going to be kids, unfortunately, and sometimes in order to survive in high school, in grade school, in kindergarten, whatever, sometimes you have to play the game a little bit. You have to play the game. You have to deal with people that you don't like sometimes, and you have to kind of wear a fake little smile and talk to them, but you could still hate their guts. I think that's what he was trying to get at, but I believe Chris took it a different way. And I'm gonna get into Chris here in a little bit because there's so much to cover with Chris that's connected to Travis, and that's why I love this episode too. They played off each other quite a lot. I'm going to get into it after this break because we're going to be taking a quick little break here on 89.5 The Waves, Fear the Dead Air, and we'll be back here in a little bit. So stay tuned because it's going to be awesome.
Fear the Dead Air is taking a little break. Don't worry, we'll be back. Like the dead rising, we are back. You are listening to Fear the Dead Air, only on 89.5 The Wave.
That is right, you are listening to Fear the Dead Air here on 89.5 The Wave. I'm your host, your friendly neighborhood DJ, JazzHandss, talking about last Sunday's amazing, my favorite episode of Fear the Walking Dead, titled The Date of Death, which, there was a lot to go over. I talked a little bit about Travis and his whole character development within this episode, how he loves his son. He loves his son to death. There's no questioning that. However, the route his son's going, I really think at the end of this episode he gave up on Chris to an extent. I think there's that part of him that's a parent that's always going to try to save Chris, but I think at the end of the day, and the title might really talk about that date of death. It might be that next time he sees his son, Travis might have to take responsibility for his son being out of control. I don't know though. I don't know though. But speaking of Chris, I've been wanting to get into Chris for a while now because my God, did he have mountains upon mountains upon mountains of character development in this episode. Oh, it was so good. Now, Chris is one of those characters, and especially because we found out about Travis telling him, you need to fit in, 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 and Chris has always tried to fit in. He wants to be accepted by a group, but he's also rebelling against his father in certain aspects. Like in Season 1, when he rebelled, essentially, to join the protest. And was like, this is my fight. These are, this is what I'm doing. Blah, 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 Dad. You don't understand. Blah, 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 blah. Like, he wants to be accepted, so he took what his father said to heart in certain aspects, but he's also rebelling with the wrong group. Like, he's trying to fit in with the wrong group. It's either that or this is how Chris feels, and so to start to be accepted by a group, even though it's a wrong group. And I don't know what Chris will do to hold on to that group that accepts him for who he is. And that's why I feel a lot of the times, once when a group starts to accept Chris, either for who he is, or even just accept him, just in general, he'll do whatever it takes to stay inside that group. Which is why you see him change quite a lot with the Bromigos. Like the speech between, or not the speech, the talk between Travis and him, where at the end, he was like, "Hey, you proved your worth. You could come out of this a hero, man. Like, come on." It's like that moment was just kind of, it's that weird with me. Like, it really made me feel that. That made me feel like Chris wasn't taking a lot of stuff serious, and he was more trying to get accepted into this group, or that this group is accepting him. He's like kind of running with it. But no, yeah, I think because the Bromigos have accepted him, a lot of the times when he talks to Travis, I think because he wants to stay in this group so bad, he will do whatever it takes, even go up against his own father, to the point of, I believe, manipulation. I strongly believe that in this episode, Chris manipulated Travis quite a lot. He told him exactly what he wanted to hear. I get it. Life is precious. Dad, I understand. This is what you're trying to teach me, and I respect that. And then he'll go up against him. Like when they shot little baby James. And so I really feel that, granted, some could say, and I could kind of see it too in certain aspects, that Chris knows how these people think. Because essentially, I believe he thinks like them. So it could very well be that he's going along with it. He knows how dangerous they can be to protect his father in certain ways, and it would be better for him to leave and his father to stay, because then he knows my father's smart, he's a good man, he can survive. That it can be interpreted in different ways, and that's why I do like this show. Personally, I think Chris is way too far gone, and that he needs to look at the flowers. And I really think that Chris's whole story arc is going to be kind of resolved in this next episode. I think they could drag it out a lot longer, and Chris could kind of become, I wouldn't say a bad guy in season 3, but I could see Chris really, I could see Chris dying at this next episode. I think he's going to, what I think is going to happen is it's going to come down between the Bromigos and his father, and I think the Bromigos and his father, I believe Brandon and his dad, are going to have like a fight, or they're going to be pointing guns at each other, and Chris is going to be the deciding man, and he's going to have to pick one or the other. And depending on which one he picks, who knows? But no, Chris in this episode, and the fact that he left his father, he was interesting. Or he definitely had some interesting character developments and some interesting character arcs, and I'm excited to see where he goes in the near future. One other thing, too, about him that I liked is that we kind of understood more where he's coming from in certain aspects. Like how I said Travis told him to fit in. I've said that numerous times, but like how Travis said, hey, you need to fit in. You can kind of see the hurt and resentment in his eyes, and you understand a little bit where he's coming from. How he had this, I wouldn't say perfect life, but he had his mom, he had his dad, he had a family, and then Travis and his wife, they split up, and then his whole world was shattered, and then it goes from not only living with his mom and not seeing his dad as much, but whenever he does see his dad, he has to deal with Madison, he has to deal with Nick, he has to deal with Alicia, he has to deal with these other people that are messed up in certain aspects, definitely Nick. And so you see this resentment, as well as everything I said about fitting in. He never felt that his father fully accepted him for who he was. So there's this resentment there. There's this, he loves his father, I feel, in certain ways, but I don't know what's going to happen to him. But I'm excited to see where Chris's story arc goes, and I really think the next episode, if he doesn't die next episode, then I think he's gonna kind of become a bad guy. But I could also very well be wrong. I mean, I know that I like to throw curveballs at you, so I don't know what's really going to happen with Chris. But it's interesting to find out. And it's some heavy stuff. So the other character that I feel got a lot of character development in this episode was Madison. I've said this before, and I've said it like the last 3 episodes. I really feel that this time she's moving on. I feel that everything with Alicia that she had a problem with, she's finally moving on. And I believe her talk with Travis opened her eyes. Real quick, too, because I gotta say it. Again, visually, the episode was phenomenal. I loved the scene between Madison and Travis when they were talking in the hotel, and you see the background, you see the waves, and it looked real cool. I just had to get that in there before I forgot. But Madison, I'm glad that she finally kind of is starting to get it. I mean, because she's going through the same thing that Travis is going through with the whole protection thing, but I think she's the one that understands the most that sometimes when your kids need to leave, they need to leave. I like the talk that her and Travis had, and I've said that a million times, but I really like that speech about how, I said, last thing I said to him wasn't the best, and it could all be over in a moment, and then that was the catalyst for her to talk to Alicia about, everything would happen, as well as confess about the father's suicide. I kind of liked that she opened up about it, because I always felt that it was weird whenever they talked about it. It seemed always sugar-coated. And realistically, I feel that Madison, a lot of the times, didn't tell Nick or Alicia, not because she wanted to protect them, but because she kind of wanted to protect herself. I hope we get more into that kind of backstory, because I feel that maybe Madison possibly came from a home that was broken or not real big family orientated. And so when she found somebody that she loved, she couldn't really deal with the fact that they committed suicide, that they killed themselves, possibly because of her, possibly because of the family situations, whatever, but they took their own life. They would rather take their own life than work it out with them, and I think her living a lie to herself, Alicia, and Nick is a lot better than actually having to face the truth that somebody didn't want to be with them anymore. And so I think a lot of the time the lie wasn't just for Nick, it was more so for her, but I like that they finally opened up about the father. One thing that I did notice too, and I don't know if a lot of people noticed it, but I watch Fear with the subtitles on. I'll read the subtitles when stuff gets kind of boring, or not boring, but when it's a slower scene, I'll read the subtitles more so than listen. And I noticed one of the subtitles popped up, and it said, and none of the Alicia didn't say it, Madison didn't say it, but essentially it read that Nick and his father share the same demons. Why they took that out, I have no idea. But it was in there. I read it. So either one of two things is going to happen. It's going to be a big reveal that the father was on substance abuse and that's why Nick's messed up. Or maybe they're going a different direction with it. Maybe he didn't do substance abuse. I don't know, but I think my theory of one of the parents, more so the father, using substance abuse is more true. I think that's true, but I don't know why they would hide that. But yeah, if you go back and if you DVR'd it and watch it and have the subtitles on at the speech between Alicia and Madison, read carefully. Future predictions. Like I said, I think that Chris is going to come to a crossroad of, do I save my father or do I save the Bromigos? And if he picks wrong, he could possibly end up dead. It could very well be too that because the cartel looks like they're going to be attacking Nick's town, the Colonia. I think Madison and Nick are going to reunite at the end of this episode. Or somewhere in this episode, they're going to find each other. And it could fairly well be possible that Alicia is with her and Nick's with him at something. And possibly Madison could die. If Madison dies, I think that could be the one thing that would bring Nick back. And it also looks like Nick's trying to actually escape and leave the Colonia. And he's trying to take Luciana with him. So I think Alejandro's doing some more shady stuff that we're not knowing about, and I think Nick finally figures it out, and that's when he's like, you gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here. Look, it's not safe. He's completely crazy. This is not how you live. So, and then I think they're going to go to the hotel, but it could possibly be a major death. I think we're going to get a major death coming up. I think it's going to be one of those things like the entire group is going to be bought together again. And I think it's going to be the cartel. I think they're going to capture Ophelia, bring her to the supermarket. I think Nick's going to get in the crosshair. And because the hotel now has all these people living in it, they have to go get some more medicine. And they're going to bring some more food. And then they're going to get caught in the crossfires of this battle or this war gearing up for. And then all these characters that we know that we've had separate stories, their stories are all going to come together at this end. And we're going to see fully the fallout of what happens. But that's pretty much it for me. I had a blast, and I will see you next week for the 2-hour season finale of Fear the Walking Dead.